Hi Arjun. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Arjun Rajasekaran. I'm from Houston. I went to Georgia Tech and now I'm at UC Berkeley. So I've been traveling all around the United States. Uh, I love, I really love space in terms of just as a general thing. I used to love it when I was a little kid and reading about it. I read about like nebula and stuff like that when I was like maybe like I don't know 8 or 9 years old. And so I'm really excited to be here.
I recognize the green thing behind you. I went to Berkeley last summer, and that looks just like the arch that's right on the walkway.
Yeah, let's say there are. Yeah.
That's, um, can you talk about some of the things that you're doing, and some of the things that you're like plan to do in the future?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a material science and engineering major. So, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing my master's at UC Berkeley, and I'm been taking classes focused on like I guess additive manufacturing, advanced 3D printing, whether it be vat polymerization. I'm learning a lot about optical materials, biological materials, and what I hope to do in the future is kind of use my material science knowledge in order to develop advanced bioprosthetics, hopefully.
Wow.
And yeah, and one of the projects I am working on for my graduate capstone project is 3D printing a polymer stent for vascular thrombus. And thrombus is just when your blood vessels get blocked due to high cholesterol buildup or varicose veins or just blood clots. And yeah, it's an ongoing project that we're working on. We just successfully printed our first stent. And um, yeah.
That sounds amazing. Um, I had a few questions I want to ask you. I guess first of all, did you know that NASA's planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
I did not actually.
Um, I uh, well, now that you've heard it, any initial reactions?
Uh, it's about time. I feel like it's been like what it's been a while since we've gone to the moon. I think the last thing I heard about maybe an NASA mission was shooting a rocket into it's either Mars or the moon to see if there was water at one of the poles. And so it was a big thing, and I'm surprised they don't do it more, just because I feel like that gets the public really, really excited. You know, we're going back to the moon, we're exploring unknown regions and stuff like that. And I think with the whole last presidency with the Space Force and trying to expand into space and maybe build a colony there, it's about time, is what I'm getting at.
Well, whenever you think about the future of humanity, like if you look 200 years out in the future, do you think we're on multiple planets at that point, or you think we're still only on Earth?
200 years from now, I think we're at the precipice of visiting multiple planets, but I think the biggest problem is just the time it takes right now. And we need I guess I don't know how to put this properly, but like we need a more stronger and efficient energy source in order to power all those rockets just going through space and all that. It took Voyager, I don't know, I don't know exactly the details, but a very, very long time to even reach the end of the solar system. So like other planets, and then you also have to think about like the inhabitable prospect of those planets. Like I guess Jupiter, that's impossible. The gravity is too much. Neptune is too cold, or and yeah, yeah. That's my whole thought process on interplanetary travel. And so
So you're thinking we need to figure out fission or fusion, or maybe even like matter antimatter type of
yeah,
way of harnessing energy.
I think I think if we figure out fusion, then it'll be kind of an exponential like growth, and okay, we're about to like start traveling to other planets and stuff like that.
Do you think we're close to figuring out fusion?
I read that a national laboratory did, for the first time, achieve fusion in a tokamak, I think. But it was very difficult, and the amount of energy they put in is it's very high in order to achieve it. So I think they're just still doing research on it, but we have kind of scratched the surface of it. We just need to I guess keep making advances in materials technology, and hopefully we'll get into that.
Do you see the work you're doing in material science contributing to humanity going out into the rest of the solar system?
Yes, I do. I think materials is the one of the biggest contributors in order to go and explore beyond. Just because we've reached like a I guess a level of like in terms of sorry, technical like mechanical and electrical engineering, the amount of subsystems or whatever. But I think now it's just about altering those like really, really material properties in order to achieve what you like a certain composite or certain semiconductor materials that you want that can have the properties that you want.
Yeah, do you see materials that are like self-repairing being a thing of the future?
Yes, I do.
Any ideas on how that might work?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't exactly know. Um, I guess one of the things I think SpaceX is doing is researching the reusability of rockets. And so for interplanetary travel, you want to be able to do that. And in order to do that, you have to create composites, metals that don't burn up completely in the atmosphere and still retain their integrity. So I think in the world of like metals and composites, that's perfect. There's also some things with like semiconductor materials, like you don't want your components to just fry. And then maybe in fuel sources, it could maybe there could be a better chemical reaction, but that's more of the chemical side, and that's a little too overcomplicated for me.
I mean, I just think about down here, a place where material science seems like there's a huge opportunity. Um, we produce a lot of plastic, and we use that plastic maybe one or two times, and then we just throw it away into landfills.
Right.
If we had some type of material that could be like you use it, and then whenever you don't need it anymore, it goes in some device that then you could transform it into something else that you would use, and it just continuously cycles. Did do you have any thoughts on something like that?
I think what you're referring to is like biodegradable plastic or stuff like that. I think research is still being done on it. I know I've read a couple papers in which they achieved like a very rudimentary version, but until we get to a point where like most trash can be like, I guess, broken down, uh, yeah, we'll just still have to keep working on it.
There's a experiment on the ISS that's related to material science. They were making alloys of two different metals on the
Okay.
ISS, with the idea being that you wouldn't have the heavier one sort of settling to the bottom and the lighter one kind of settling to the top. You get like a continuous, what is a homogeneous kind of mixture of
Mhm.
uh, the two metals. I was just wondering, what kind of, I mean, do you do much with alloys in your material science research?
I have worked with alloys in the past. I've worked in cold spraying, which is a type of 3D printing technique where you spray dried particles into a shape of a desired part that you want, and then you sinter it, and then you can use those spare parts for anything. That brings up a very interesting point though, because 3D printing is a big thing in space now, since we've mastered it on Earth, but it's very hard to do it in like a zero gravity environment. And there's a project that someone is working on in Berkeley where they're trying to 3D print polymer parts for a quick spare parts on the ISS actually. And so, and then the other thing I would say is like the mixture of two materials, that's still being done here. 3D printing with two materials, it's a little bit difficult to get like the type of I guess homogeneous mixture that you want. Just because you have to use a technique which can accept those two materials and also do it in a zero gravity environment. My guess would be, I think from what you're saying, they might be doing they might be doing powder bed fusion or some kind of advanced FDM printing, uh, in that environment. But that is very interesting to think about just because the complexity of all those moving parts, and you also want it to be portable and not, take up like an entire compartment of the rocket that you're going in. So yeah, it's very, very interesting research that's been done.
Yeah, you also have to think about it can't be flammable. It can't put uh, if something bad happens, you can't just go step outside.
Yeah, that's true. No, that reminds that is we don't want any repeats of Apollo 13, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but all the astronauts made it back, so that was good.
Yeah.
So if you could, would you take a trip to space?
Yes, I would. Gladly.
How far would you go?
Uh, ooh, that's a really, really good question. Um, just like entire universe or just in solar system as well?
Well, okay. Um, let's say if you had a choice between a orbital trip, spending like 3 days in orbit, or a week-long trip to the moon and back, or immigrating to a city on Mars, um, uh, would you do all three of those, or
I probably
would you have
do,
some limit?
well, I would do all three of those, but my preferential thing would probably be the orbit. Uh, just because I would it'd be a dream of mine to see the Earth like as a whole, you know, and just to see just everything about it. In terms of like going to other planets and the moon would definitely be second on my list just because I am very intrigued on like materials like in beyond Earth. All right. And like new elements that could be discovered and stuff like that. I don't know about Mars and Moon, but beyond. And yeah, I think it would be very, very interesting. Although it would be very strange to have different, I guess, gravity and getting used to all that. So it's a very, very fun prospect.
I was hearing somebody talk about maybe if you're looking for interesting materials, Mercury might be an interesting place. I mean, you have like no atmosphere, and it's like right there by the sun. It's been irradiated for billions of years. What kind of effect has that had on the material composition?
That's a really good point in terms of heat resistant materials. Like utilizing mercury and potentially Venus, because I think Venus is hotter. But yeah, I wonder that's very interesting to think about actually. That's a really good point that you brought up. Um, like how could we utilize that to improve our own devices and manufacturing and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, Arjun, that's pretty much all the questions I had. Did you have any questions for me or anything else you wanted to talk about?
What got you interested in space as a whole?
Um, I think, probably my parents, when I was a child, took me to like the Johnson Space Center,
Mhm.
and was really fascinated by landing on the moon. And then, of course, you had Star Trek and the idea of, going where no one had gone before, and seeing everything. And then most lately, I would say SpaceX is like really motivating. With like Starship. I mean, if they get that working, or when they get that working, talk about a complete change in economics of spaceflight. It
Right.
can be amazing.
Yeah, I know. It a lot of their projects are very interesting. Dragon, Starship, Starlink, I was very, very intrigued by. Like a global internet communication. That would be very, very convenient for everyone. Um, I guess since you asked me this question, like I want to ask it right back. What planet would you go visit if you could?
Oh, if I could,
Yeah.
like visit any planet, or
Yeah.
just like in our solar
Visit any
system,
planet in our
or
solar system. Yeah.
in our solar system. I mean, I think the moon, since it's close, and then Mars seems reasonable. Some of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn seem like they'd be nice too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot which one it was, but I don't remember which one it was, but it was like a hospitable moon, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much variety in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The size, the atmosphere, the surface temperature. It's just,
Oh yeah, speaking of that, I think I think it was Uranus or Neptune. I think one of its moons, Titan, that's where
mm.
it's theorized that absolute zero exists.
Oh,
It's
wow.
one of the coldest places in, I guess, the universe because of absolute zero. But so it'd be very interesting to see, I guess, like you said, for Mercury, for Titan, that would be a very, very interesting, like see the materials and stuff like that. How do you survive at absolute zero? Like how does that work? I mean, we've theorized that atoms stop vibrating at absolute zero. So like how like I wonder how it is on like Titan, like what the material composition properties and everything are. So yeah.
Of course, I guess the moment you do anything to examine it, you've imparted some energy into the system.
Right.
It reminds me of a joke. And maybe you'll see the humor in it. So there's an electron going down the freeway, and the policeman pulls it over and says, "Do you realize you're going, at 99.99% the speed of light?" And he's like, "Great, now I don't know where I am." Uh, anyway,
That's pretty good. That's an advanced science joke.
it is. I got it from somebody else, but there's a very small number of people who would laugh at that joke. So,
Yeah. And,
yeah.
uh, I guess that was all the questions I had to ask. And yeah.
Well, thank you again for participating in my project. And I've been interviewing a person a day since 2019 and doing it to the end of this year. And I see it as a time capsule for future generations to kind of see what we think about the future. So it's great to get to include your viewpoint.
Definitely. I've checked out the website. I've seen some of the interviews. I think I saw the most recent one, but it's very, very interesting to hear people's different perspectives on like space itself, space travel, and like what that means for the future of technology. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Well, good luck on your hackathon and hope we cross paths again.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Bye bye.